Hey guys, what's going on? Back again with another video. As you can see on the screen, it's going to be about Judas, the official reveal that was last night at the Game Awards. Something that I personally wasn't expecting, was a huge surprise, and that's why sometimes it's good to stay off Twitter and try and avoid all the leaks that are out there that happen to go on Twitter or maybe even on YouTube or something like that. So I want to talk about Ken Levine's new game, which I guess people are calling it like a BioShock spiritual successor. It does look and remind me a lot about BioShock, which is really, really good. Just in case anybody from Ghost Story Studios or I guess Irrational Studios, depending what you know it as, sees this. I personally said a couple months ago when I first, and this might be spoilers for a lot of people, so if you don't want any spoilers for BioShock, you probably might not want to watch this, but it's gonna have again some spoilers, but I personally, for the first time a couple months ago, saw the Lost series for the first time. Then I actually literally played BioShock for the first time a few months ago, kind of almost simultaneously. I can't remember. I might have even played BioShock first, and then I ended up watching the Lost series a couple weeks or months later. So I actually completed the complete set on Xbox One, the remastered BioShock series 1, 2, and 3, which again everybody knows is amazing. It's probably the best series in all of video games, aside from maybe the Black Ops series and Call of Duty and stuff like that. But again, I ended up watching both Lost and playing the game BioShock, and I said to Ken Levine on Twitter, I tweeted it out. I said, promise me you'll make another BioShock, because it literally took me, even though I'm older, it took me literally probably like 20 years to finally watch the Lost series, and it took me like probably 10 years to finally play BioShock, and to see how stuff is just thought up creatively very nicely, and maybe like fan fiction. Technically, it is fan fiction. He's a fan of the Lost series, and he kind of created the game based on the Lost series. And then flash forward a couple years later, probably in like 2016, Call of Duty made Infinite Warfare, which ironically ended up having the most dislikes in kind of one of the most dislikes in YouTube history, which is basically Lost in Space. So I said the same thing too about the BioShock 4. I know this is kind of going around in an odd way, but I said when BioShock 4 rumors came around, I said I like the idea of it going in space and having maybe a like Jesus was from space, ancient aliens theory. And then I saw this yesterday, and it was just amazing. It's kind of like a dream come true to see. It looks like it's based in space. Somebody, maybe some type of astronaut, or maybe some type of dream state where it looks like they're in space and or crashed somewhere. I'm gonna actually play it while I'm kind of just rambling on. But again, just in case I'm wrong, I kind of looked at it. I want to say it looked like it was from space, or has some space elements, because it does definitely look like it's out of space. Also, I love the idea that it's a female this time, and I hope they stick with their guns and have it just the female as a protagonist, and maybe flipping the roles. Something I think Twilight did a couple years ago was flipping the roles, where the female um, in Bioshock, the female will be the main, or in Judas, the female will be the male, the lead role, and the male will be the side role. Because I know during Bioshock 3 Infinite, the male was the protagonist and the female was the side role, or the sidekick. Um, so I love the idea that the female is the main star in this one, and then maybe the guy helps her out. As you can see, like I mentioned, it is from space. I mean, it is based in space. So again, that would be a great idea. Something that I wish Bioshock 4 was going to do. Now at this point, I don't know what Bioshock's going to do. Or they could also do what Sonic the Hedgehog did for years, is have maybe Judas and Bioshock 4 parallel, not really parallel, but be like side uh, flash sideways, or stories going on at the same time, because I know when one of the Sonic games came out, they released two games at the same time, and it kind of one set up the other one, or they were kind of side stories. I think that'd be kind of great too if BioShock 4 is still in space, as the rumors were, and then this is also based in space, and maybe it's happening at the same time. Something, ironically enough, because it has to do with Cloverfield also, there were rumors that they were going to do another Cloverfield movie, and it happening the same time as the first Cloverfield movie would be a great idea, but that still hasn't happened yet. Where they were supposed to, years ago when the first Cloverfield movie came out, the rumors were the second one was going to be from a different group of friends that were trapped in the city. But I think J.J. Abrams said it, which is funny because all ties together perfectly because everything kind of revolves around J.J. Abrams in a way. Um, but J.J. Abrams said, yeah, they were always looking to do something different. That's the truth about content creators. Or developers, more really, developers and artists, they really don't like duplicating the same thing over and over again. Most artists like trying new things and different things. um, so that I think would be a great idea, but at the same time I understand if they don't want to repeat the same thing over and over. But of course, aside from all that, it looks exactly to me like BioShock, and it's like I said, what I mentioned to Ken Levine on Twitter, is the fact that I would love a BioShock for this generation because I was late. I was literally took me BioShock came out probably like in early or mid 2000s, so it really took like 15 years, 10 years, 15 years to finally play BioShock. And it was just like I was pretty upset at myself that I missed the whole entire BioShock hype back then. I mean, the last one came out I think in like um maybe 2012 about or something like that, because I think a lot of people are saying that it's been like 15 years, so maybe it is like 20 years, so it's been like 15 years about since maybe one of the last Bioshocks came out. But it looks cool. I hope, for me as a fan, it would have a lot of space, maybe almost like 2001 A Space Odyssey. Maybe she comes to Earth at the end or something like that, or maybe this is um, somewhat based in space, and maybe she crashed on Earth, and this is all happening on Earth. But I love the space elements, obviously, and then it also makes me want to go back and play um, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, because now that I know, because actually I played I played Infinite before I even saw Lost and before I even played BioShock, and then now that I know everything's kind of all tied together, all in the same sort of universe, or kind of take inspiration from each other, it's gonna be cool to be there, kind of almost like what Fortnite did, where everything now it's in the beginning. You're there in the beginning. You can't say that you weren't there in the beginning. I know obviously Fortnite came out in 2017, but it'd be cool to jump on a new BioShock type game, with it being fresh. Because when I played BioShock for the first time, it was already late. I mean, nobody really plays it, and there's actually a lot of people. They should do something where maybe ties together. It's gonna get people to go play the old ones, um, because there's a lot of young people now that don't know BioShock. You mentioned it to them. After I saw it, I mentioned it to a lot of people, and people didn't know what I was talking about again. So that would be kind of cool to have a new BioShock, fresh. Maybe people won't go back and play the old ones. I think people, if anything, Infinite. For me, Infinite is obviously the best one, I think, um, for me. But then again, a lot of people didn't like Infinite. A lot of people prefer the original or the sequel. But again, to see how everything in video games and pop culture take inspiration from each other is really, really cool. I know I'm not really talking too much about the gameplay because I mean, there's not much. I don't want to do too many theories and stuff like that. I really don't do too many theories. I like being surprised, not trying to figure out too much. Um, but there are some scenes that still look like it takes inspiration from Lost, which I think is pretty awesome. And if you've seen it, obviously this scene I think is one that takes inspiration from Lost. Um, but to finally be there and to know everything, and when I'm playing it, I'll probably be able to relate to stuff a little bit better. That kind of looks like Ken Levine. I wonder what the story is, if why he would put himself in there, because that really kind of looks like Ken Levine. Um, I guess at this point, maybe a younger version of Ken Levine. The only thing is, though, I'm glad that it has a big BioShock inspiration to it. I thought it was gonna be like a whole different game. But again, I guess that would hopefully everything is sponsored, and 2K is the publisher. But I hope everything has a meaning towards the end, where somehow we'll find out when the new BioShock 4 comes out that it ties into this game, and they're both kind of like wrapped around each story, or there's almost like a side story, like I said, that you can kind of play this and play BioShock 4, and you can see like, hey, it kind of all takes inspiration from each other, and the stories are kind of intertwined or something like that. Again, it looks pretty cool. It looks amazing. The graphics are great. I just hope the gameplay is good, because again, when you go back and play BioShock, it's been probably like almost 20 years, 15 years. Uh, the mechanics were great back then, but it's kind of slow and a little bit clunky. So I'd hope for them to update the gameplay. Maybe have some fast movement and stuff like that. Maybe almost Call of Duty style. Maybe even have a multiplayer where you can use your abilities. I know that's something they really never did. They tried it with the Spec Ops type survival in Infinite, or I think it maybe was in the collector's edition. They had like a multiplayer style or survival style. Maybe even put zombies in there would be cool if they had their own little zombies um, mode somehow, or maybe have some zombies Easter eggs, because Call of Duty Zombies takes inspiration from Lost also. Would be really, really cool. Again, it's something that I really am happy to see. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you guys later.